But first, I want to get to America Rising's Alex Smith joining us live here on Mornings with Kelly Golden on 94.3 WSC. Alex, I think you got all the buttons pressed. Good morning. How are you?
I'm well, thank you. Thanks so much for having me on.
Absolutely. So tell me first and foremost, all of us here this morning on 94.3 WSC, what is America Rising?
So America Rising is the Republican Party's premier opposition research firm. So we do all of the digging on Democratic candidates so voters don't have buyer's remorse come after Election Day.
How about I don't know how long you've been on the line here, but we just played audio from Chuck Schumer. I know Schumer is shut down as a hashtag. It's trending on Twitter. But Chuck Schumer saying negotiating with the president is like negotiating with Jell-O. It's like, wow. Oh, my goodness.
Well, I think that negotiating with the Democrats is like negotiating with a wall. I mean, you just can't get through to them. What was really sort of frustrating about this whole thing is that they've tied government funding to DACA, and the two deadlines were completely different. So the government funding deadline was this past Friday at midnight. The DACA deadline doesn't run out until March 9th. So what they did is they took a very politically hot potato and they tied it to the government shutdown so that they can kind of make a political statement, particularly the Democrats that are running for president in 2020. And in the meantime, they've put our government to a halt.
Well, then I would say let's play devil's advocate here. And what about when Ted Cruz did it, though, for Republicans back over Obamacare years back?
Yeah, look, I didn't agree with that either. I think that you have to be realistic about about legislating. And the bottom line is that for Chuck Schumer, he knows that in order to avoid a government shutdown, we need 60 votes in the Senate, and that currently, even though the Republicans control the Senate, we fall short of that number. And so I think that, he knows that. He knows that several of his Democrats have to cross the line, and there are several Democrats that should. There are 10 Democrats running in states that the president won in 5 of those states, he won by double digits. So these are, I think, Democrats that are going to have a really tough time explaining to their constituents why they voted the way they did. Now, some of them ended up crossing the line on Friday, but many of them didn't, and I think that that's going to be a real problem for them.
Our entire budget process needs to change, and some are surmising, Alex Smith with America Rising, that isn't going to happen until 2019, say when we get new representation in D.C. with different faces changing in Congress, in the Senate. I hear, what about South Carolina's U.S. Senator Lindsey Graham? Here he is, one of the so-called moderates trying to break up this logjam. What's the point? I don't know.
Well, I think that he's really aiming to extract what the president wants from Democrats, while at the same time keeping while at the same time delivering on DACA. What Senator Graham and the president are talking about, these are both winners with the American people, keeping DACA and also providing for strong border security. These are very popular with the American people. They're very popular with independents, who are going to be really important come the midterm elections. And so I think that the Democrats have really painted themselves into a corner. And someone like Lindsey Graham, I think, is someone who understands the need for strong military spending, strong border security, but also the need for DACA to address the fates of these 700,000 people who are in this country through no fault of their own.
Right. Just seems like futile efforts, though, because Democrats continue to demand and not compromise, even though they say they're the party of compromise. So let's talk about that. America Rising's Alex Smith live here on 94.3 WSC, because, the president doesn't want to break up families. He said that over and over. He is putting politics aside and trying to put national security first with this merit-based immigration policy. And, what is wrong with wanting to fix chain migration and the visa lottery program? Have you seen the new DHS and Justice Department report that's been released? That frankly, these are facts now that prove these programs let in something like 3 of 4 foreign-born terrorists in our country since 9/11. Those are shocking numbers.
Sure. Look, I think that this is, certainly the report is eye-opening, but in terms of, what Americans understand, if you're just if you're just an average American that's going through about his or her day, you understand the need for a country to have a border. I mean, that's just a very basic concept, and I think that when Democrats rally against that, they're rallying against common sense wishes of many Americans, and it's just something that I think that the Democrats in sort of big cities like New York and San Francisco, they're kind of on their high horse about it. They have ideas of their own. They don't really realize how basic of an idea that is for the rest of the country.
Yeah, I actually saw someone Instagram a question that said, "Why are Democrats okay with destroying America just to spite Trump?" And it was cause for pause when I read that.
Oh, absolutely. I think 2016 was about the American people saying we're done with politics as usual, and I think that they were saying that to both sides, right? They were saying, we're tired of the way that Washington works, and we're tired of both parties. They elected President Trump as a change maker, a change agent, someone who can come to Washington and really shake things up. And so by Democrats just acting in a reflexive, knee-jerk, partisan way over every single issue, people keep talking about a Democratic wave that might happen in 2018. I think that their behavior consistently, not just on the government shutdown, but on health care and on tax reform especially, is really going to come back to haunt them in the 2018 midterms, because the American people are going to say, wait a second, we sent you a clear signal back in 2016, and you seem to have learned nothing from what we were saying.
Right, absolutely. America Rising's Alex Smith, I appreciate you joining us here this morning live.